Chapter 2049. Translation: The Saint King Realm Cultivator was trembling with fear, not daring to hide anything from Luo Qingtong. Whether Luo Qingtong was willing to let him go or not, he was prepared to tell Luo Qingtong everything he knew. What if the girl was moved and let him go? In fact, this cultivator did the right thing. Luo Qingtong hated threats the most. Anyone who dared to threaten her, even if they didn't die on the spot, Luo Qingtong would make them pay the price later. But at the same time, she was also very particular about reciprocity and exchange of equal value. This cultivator sincerely begged for mercy, and deliberately told her about the people of beast-taming King's Valley and Celestial Palace. Luo Qingtong's eyes narrowed slightly. Looking at him kneeling on the ground and kowtowing, she dispelled the idea of killing him to silence him for a moment. "Open your mouth." Luo Qingtong looked at him and suddenly said. The Saint King Realm Cultivator was stunned for a moment, then subconsciously opened his mouth. Swish! Luo Qingtong flicked her index finger, and a pill entered his mouth at this moment. "Leave this place immediately in half an hour. Don't mention anything related to me in this life. Go." As she spoke, she directly drew a map for the Saint King Realm Cultivator to leave this place. It was exactly half an hour, to ensure that the other party wouldn't have time to tell anyone about her in the fallen immortal land. As for what the other party said after leaving, it was his own business. Luo Qingtong didn't care. So what if the people outside knew about her? Not to mention whether they would believe it or not, even if they believed it, so what? Luo Qingtong's target was only the people of beast-taming King's Valley and Celestial Palace. As for her ability, it would be exposed sooner or later. She couldn't hide it forever. However, Luo Qingtong believed that with the intelligence shown by this Saint King Realm Cultivator, he would use all the information he knew in exchange for reducing her murderous intent. He wouldn't risk his life just to expose his abilities. "Yes. Thank you, Miss Tong, for not killing me. Thank you for sparing my life, Miss Tong." The Saint King Realm Cultivator was so excited he couldn't even speak coherently. He had already felt Luo Qingtong's killing intent before, but he didn't think that she would really change her mind because of his words. He had not guessed wrongly earlier. This Miss Tong was really someone who repaid kindness with kindness and revenge with vengeance. As long as you don't play any tricks on her, tell her everything and sincerely beg for mercy, she will still let you off. This Saint King Realm Cultivator felt as if he had just survived a disaster and kowtowed several times to Luo Qingtong. Then he hurriedly ran out along the route Luo Qingtong gave him, not wanting to stay for even a second longer. Looking at his back, Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. The pill she gave him clashed with the Yin Qi and Death Qi. If he didn't leave the land of the fallen immortals within an hour, he would die. So she wasn't worried that he would not follow her arrangement. Because if he did, he would die. Or he would court death himself. It was no different from killing someone to silence them. "Let's go." Luo Qingtong waved her hand and let Little Pig return to her, then she rushed to the underground nest. She wanted to help Shi Shao recover his strength before going to Broken Star Valley. She didn't expect that the people of beast-taming King's Valley would expose the location of Broken Star Valley and call for help. Chapter 2050. It seemed that they had encountered a lot of trouble in the Broken Star Valley. Even the people of the Celestial Palace couldn't get the fifth part of the art of beast taming from the ground. Luo Qingtong's lips curled up as she thought about it. Since that was the case, she would go and cook for them. Luo Qingtong's figure flashed towards the underground lair and quickly rushed back. However, as soon as she got close, she heard a series of screams coming from the front. "Ah! Help! Help!" A group of people were fighting with the corpse puppet of the great Yong Saint in front of them. They were in a sorry state, except for a few people at the front who could fend off the corpse puppet's attack. The others were screaming desperately under the attack of the corpse puppet. Their voices were full of fear. "Ah!" Their voices were sharp, and one of the women who was about to be caught by the corpse puppet directly pushed out a young girl behind her. "Go to hell. Yun Shi, it's all your fault for bringing misfortune to our Yun family." For our Yun family to have a descendant like you, we really have 8 lifetimes of bad luck. The middle-aged woman's voice was sharp. She was only a mid-level Saint Lord. Under the attack of the corpse puppet, she couldn't resist at all. She simply pushed Yun Shi out. Anyway, this B*TCH was useless to the Yun family. If it weren't for the possibility that she could seduce Luo Qingtong, they wouldn't have brought her to the land of the fallen immortals. This B*TCH deserved to die in the Yun family. It was better than bringing disaster to them. Thinking of this, the middle-aged woman suddenly pulled Yun Shi out from behind her and threw her to the corpse puppet of the great Yong saint. Her actions were straightforward and ruthless. Obviously, she had wanted to do this for a long time. Yun Shi had been pushed aside by the crowd. Now that she was in danger, she couldn't react at all and was pushed out by the middle-aged woman. Of course, even if she reacted, she couldn't resist. Because the middle-aged woman was much more powerful than her. She was just a girl who hadn't even reached the saint realm. How could she compare with the middle-aged woman who was a mid-level Saint Lord? He could only wait for death with a look of despair. In fact, she should have died a long time ago, right? Yun Shi mocked him in her heart. If it wasn't to lure Luo Qingtong out, they wouldn't have let her live until now. Now, this was merely a form of release. Thinking about this, Yun Shi felt relieved. These people didn't want to believe that she had nothing to do with Luo Qingtong. In fact, she had nothing to do with Luo Qingtong. The only reason she had spoken up for Yun Yan in the beast-taming King's Valley was because she also wanted to deal with Yun Yan. It was impossible for them to use her to lure out Luo Qingtong. Rather than being tortured by them and living in pain, it would be better to die cleanly. Thinking of this, Yun Shi stopped resisting and allowed the corpse puppet of the great Yong saint to grab her. On the other hand, Luo Qingtong heard Yun Shi's name from afar and immediately raised her eyebrows. When she saw the appearance of the girl being pushed out by the middle-aged woman, she immediately confirmed her identity. It was the girl she had met in the beast-taming King's Valley, Yun Yan's older sister, Yun Shi. Chapter 2051. The other party seemed to be in a very bad situation. She wondered if it had something to do with her identity being exposed. As Luo Qingtong thought about it, she immediately used her mind to control the corpse puppet of the great Yong saint and made it leave this place. She also marked out the locations of several Yin corpses that she had discovered on her way back, so that it could hunt and increase its strength. Go over and take care of it. Don't let it be hunted by others. The corpse puppet had been severely injured when fighting against those people previously. If not for this, Yun Shi and the others would have been killed long ago. Luo Qingtong was speechless when she saw that the strongest among them were only at the peak of the Saint King realm. These people dared to provoke the corpse puppet with such little strength. They were really tired of living. Did they really think that the corpse puppet was easy to bully just because it was severely injured? If Luo Qingtong hadn't come back, these people would have all been killed by the corpse puppet here. At this moment, the corpse puppet of the great Yong saint had become ferocious because of the group of people in front of it. However, after receiving Luo Qingtong's order, it still forcibly withdrew its hands that were about to poke Yun Shi. Then its figure flashed, and it disappeared in front of everyone with a roar. Seeing the corpse puppet disappear, everyone felt an indescribable lingering fear in their hearts. At this moment, Yun Shi was prepared to be torn to pieces by the corpse puppet. But unexpectedly, the corpse puppet suddenly turned around and left. Her heart pounded violently. Before she could recover her senses, she suddenly heard a voice not far away. Yun Shi, why are you here? Hearing this voice, Yun Shi was slightly stunned. Then she raised her head abruptly and looked in disbelief at the young man who was walking toward her. Yes, it was the young man. Luo Qingtong had already disguised herself on the way back. She planned to go to Shattered Star Valley later, so she naturally couldn't reveal her identity. Her and Night Eye's appearances had already been exposed. In addition, the girl's identity was too eye-catching and suspicious, so Luo Qingtong simply disguised herself as a man. In any case, when she was in the southern and eastern regions, she had dressed as a man. Ordinary people could not tell her true gender at all. As soon as Luo Qingtong's voice sounded, Yunxi recognized Luo Qingtong. There was no other reason. When Luo Qingtong opened her mouth, another voice was transmitted into her mind. I'm Night Eye. With just a few words, Yunxi immediately understood the identity of the handsome young man in front of her. Looking at Luo Qingtong's completely different outfit and voice, Yunxi was very surprised. She almost couldn't help but exclaim out loud, but in the end, she forcefully held it back. She looked at Luo Qingtong and hesitated a few times. She didn't know how to address Luo Qingtong. However, the girl's voice rang in her mind again. Yi Jiu. Luo Qingtong was not afraid that someone would guess her identity because of this name. In this world, there were many people with the same surname. Would the people of the Beast Master Valley suspect everyone with the surname Yi? They would die of exhaustion. What's more, her disguise was the best cover. Sure enough, after Yunxi announced her name, it didn't attract much attention from other people. Chapter 2052. Who are you? What's your relationship with Yunxi? How do you know her? She interrogated him to get to the bottom of it. Yunxi looked at Luo Qingtong nervously, not knowing what she would say. If the girl couldn't explain, Concubine Li would be suspicious. We've met a few times before. Why, are you questioning me? Luo Qingtong looked at Concubine Li with a half-smile. She was the one who had pushed Yunxi to her death, and her words seemed to be full of hatred for Yunxi. Did she have a grudge against Yunxi? Was it related to Yun Yan? Otherwise, why would she look at Yunxi with such hatred? Luo Qingtong was thinking this when she heard Yunxi say to Concubine Li nervously, "That's right, I met Yi Jiu on the way back to the family. He saved my and Yun Yan's lives." Concubine Li, why are you questioning her like this? As soon as Yunxi spoke, Luo Qingtong immediately understood the identity of the middle-aged woman opposite her. Concubine Li? If she remembered correctly, Yun Yan and Yunxi were sisters born of a concubine and Yun Yan was born of a concubine. This Concubine Li couldn't be her mother, could she? As Luo Qingtong thought this, she heard Concubine Li shout at Yunxi angrily, "Shut up, there's no room for you to speak here. If it weren't for you, you jinx, how could our family be so unlucky? How could we meet such a strong Yin corpse for no reason? It's not enough that you've harmed our family and Yun are outside, now you're causing us trouble here. Who knows what kind of person you brought here? If she's like that Luo Qingtong, are you trying to kill us all? You piece of trash, B****, why don't you just die?" Her voice was shrill, and her expression was vicious. She looked as if she hated Yunxi to death. The others looked indifferent and didn't say anything. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes. "Alright, didn't you want to know my identity? I'm a disciple of the Brightheart sect." The Clearheart sect was the sect of the group of people that had just been killed by Luo Qingtong. Luo Qingtong raised her hand and threw over an identity token she had obtained from them. This was something she had found on those people before. At that time, she thought it would be better to be prepared. She didn't expect to use it so soon. Brightheart sect? Receiving the identity token that Luo Qingtong threw over, the Yun family patriarch's expression was extremely stern. That was a fourth-class sect. He stopped Concubine Motherly with a sharp expression. After checking Luo Qingtong's identity tablet, she immediately nodded towards Luo Qingtong with a respectful expression. "So, little young master is a disciple of the Clearheart sect. I wonder why you are here alone." The sects in the land of the deceased immortals moved in groups. Even a relatively scattered family force like the Yun family was the same. Because the danger level in the land of the deceased immortals was too high, and Luo Qingtong was here alone. Therefore, the Yun family patriarch's voice couldn't hide his surprise. "Oh." Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. "When I was chasing that Yin corpse just now, I got separated from the people of my sect." Hearing this, the Yun family patriarch suddenly had no more doubts. Not for anything else, but because he was somewhat knowledgeable. The Yin corpse just now had many traces of the unique techniques of the Clearheart sect on it. Luo Qingtong's words matched this matter. Immediately, he said to Luo Qingtong with a smile, "In that case, little young master, come with us." Chapter 2053. "Oh, I'm going there too." Luo Qingtong looked indifferent. She looked at the patriarch of the Yun family and chuckled, "My sect is going there to help Beast Taming Valley and Celestial Palace. Are you guys going there as well?" The patriarch of the Yun family felt even more relieved after hearing Luo Qingtong's words. Because Broken Star Valley was full of people from Beast Taming Valley and Celestial Palace, if the young man in front of him was really related to Luo Qingtong, he wouldn't dare to go there with them. Now that the young man had taken the initiative to ask, he thought that he should really be a member of the Mingxin clan. He had just met Yunxi a few times before and saved her life. Thinking of this, the patriarch of the Yun family became even more enthusiastic toward Luo Qingtong. Yunxi covered her mouth to suppress the surprise in her heart. Luo Qingtong wanted to go to Broken Star Valley with them. But that place was full of people from Beast Taming Valley and Celestial Palace. And there were also people who had been summoned by Beast Taming Valley and Celestial Palace to help them. What if Luo Qingtong's identity was exposed and she was discovered? She just wanted to tell Luo Qingtong to leave quickly. She didn't expect that the young man would take the initiative to ask to go with them. She looked at Luo Qingtong and opened her mouth. She didn't know what to say in front of so many people. Luo Qingtong looked indifferent. Seeing the worry in Yunxi's eyes, she immediately transmitted a message to her, "It's okay." Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes. She had been looking for an opportunity to go to Broken Star Valley. Now that she was going with the Yun family, it would be easier to hide and less likely to attract attention. As for why the Mingxin clan didn't go to Broken Star Valley, it had nothing to do with her, right? Luo Qingtong wasn't worried about how to explain it to the Yun family. There were so many dangers in the land of the deceased immortals. Who knew why the Clearheart Sex people were delayed? Of course, the reality was that they were all dead. But if she didn't say anything, who would know? They set off for the Broken Star Valley. Yunxi relaxed a lot after receiving Luo Qingtong's message, but she was still a little worried. Why do you want to go to Broken Star Valley? The people from Beast Taming King's Valley and Celestial Palace are all there. She and Luo Qingtong walked behind them, pretending to talk about old times, but in fact, they were very anxious. She vaguely guessed that Luo Qingtong might be looking for trouble with the Beast Taming King Valley. However, the other party's idea was too bold. That was a first-rate sect. Celestial Palace wasn't weak either. With the support of the Star Alliance, Celestial Palace had the strength of a second-class sect. If there were no accidents in the future, it was only a matter of time before they became a first-rate sect. If Luo Qingtong wanted to look for trouble with them, wouldn't it be the same as walking into a trap? Luo Qingtong couldn't explain herself to her, and she didn't like to expose her trump card for no reason. Hearing this, she smiled and didn't answer. Instead, she asked about Yunxi's situation. "What's going on with you now? Did the people from Beast Taming King's Valley look for trouble with you?" When Luo Qingtong saw Yunxi, she knew that she might have implicated her. It was even more obvious when she heard concubine Li's words. Presumably, the Yun family already knew that she had spoken for her and dealt with Yun Yen. Chapter 2054. "It's okay, this has nothing to do with you." Yunxi looked at her and shook her head. At that time, it was her own idea to deal with Yun Yen, so it was natural that the people of Beast Tamer Valley would come looking for her. It had nothing to do with Luo Qingtong. The girl didn't ask her for help. "They just want to know your identity and whereabouts from me." In fact, Yunxi really didn't know anything about Luo Qingtong. After the people of Beast Tamer Valley investigated for a while and confirmed that Yunxi only wanted to deal with Yun Yen and really didn't know Luo Qingtong, they ignored her. On the contrary, the people of the Yun family were very angry at her because she offended Beast Tamer Valley and got involved with Luo Qingtong. The reason why they kept her alive was because they wanted to use her to lure Luo Qingtong out. At that time, they would be able to redeem themselves and rebuild their relationship with Beast Tamer Valley. Yunxi's tone was casual, but Luo Qingtong knew that things weren't that simple. Not to mention that the people of Beast Tamer Valley hated her to death. She didn't know what methods they used to interrogate Yunxi, but in the end, they confirmed that she had nothing to do with her. Yunxi's life in the family was probably very difficult, and she didn't know what kind of torture she had experienced. Looking at the people of her family, it seemed that they all wanted her to die. Just now, when Yunxi was pushed out to die by concubine Li, many people were watching from the sidelines and were unwilling to help her. In the end, Yunxi became like this because she helped her. Luo Qingtong knew what to do. You didn't use the thing I gave you before? Luo Qingtong had given Yunxi a beast-taming spell. Now it seemed that Yunxi didn't use it. Otherwise, if she could contract with a demonic beast, the people of the Yun family wouldn't treat her like this. After all, even if Beast Tamer Valley didn't accept a strong person who could control demonic beasts, the people of the Yun family should be very happy to have such a strong person. Yes. Yunxi nodded. She looked at Luo Qingtong with a hesitant expression. Then, she spoke her mind. That thing. I keep having the feeling that it's a contracted demonic beast. It doesn't have a soul at all, and it's just a tool. I don't like that feeling, so in the end, she didn't cultivate the beast-taming incantation. When the people from the beast-taming King's Valley came knocking on her door, she directly destroyed the beast-taming law. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows. She glanced at Yunxi with some surprise. He hadn't expected that Yunxi would be able to see through the flaws in the Beast Master Valley's method, and that she would be able to control herself and not practice that method. After all, many people, even if they noticed that there was something wrong with the Beast Tamer King Valley's cultivation method, would still cultivate regardless of the cost due to their thirst for power. After all, being able to contract with a demonic beast would bring him a lot of power and help. Especially if he could obtain a powerful demonic beast, that would be even more powerful. Yes. She looked at Yunxi and nodded. The Beast Master Valley's method does have a lot of flaws. Since you didn't cultivate it at that time, then you don't have to cultivate it. When the flaws are solved, I will give you a complete beast-taming incantation. She would treat it as compensation for the other party being implicated by her. Upon hearing this, Yunxi immediately covered her mouth. Chapter 2055. She had thought that she had sensed wrongly. But since Luo Qingtong said so, she had no choice but to believe it. After all, Luo Qingtong was someone who the people of the Beast Tamer King's Valley wanted to capture at all costs. She must know a lot about the Beast Tamer King's Valley. Suddenly, she let out a low cry, then looked at Luo Qingtong and asked in a low voice, "Is the incident in the Broken Star Valley also related to the Beast Tamer spell? Otherwise, why would the people of the Beast Tamer King's Valley suddenly expose such a place and desperately try to get what was inside?" For this reason, they did not hesitate to invite a large number of forces, and even joined forces with the people of the Celestial Palace. Obviously, they knew what was inside and desperately wanted to get their hands on it. Thinking about what Luo Qingtong had just said to her, and then thinking about the unusual behavior of the Beast Tamer King's Valley this time, Yunxi suddenly realized that the secret of the Beast Tamer King's Valley had been discovered by Luo Qingtong. That's why he desperately wanted to take out the thing inside the cave. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been in such a hurry. There was no need to expose the location of the treasure like this. The only explanation was that this place had already been exposed. Therefore, the people of the Beast Tamer King's Valley simply exposed it completely. And they wanted to get what was inside at all costs. Okay. Luo Qingtong nodded. She looked at Yunxi with a faint smile and said, "That's right." She was not afraid that Yunxi would know. Anyway, the people of the Beast Tamer King's Valley had already exposed the location of the Broken Star Valley. The people who entered it would sooner or later know the purpose of the people of the Beast Tamer King's Valley. Therefore, there was nothing to hide. Hearing this, Yunxi covered her mouth even tighter. She was afraid that if she was not careful, she would make a louder sound and attract the attention of others. She didn't expect that she had guessed right. Luo Qingtong was going to stop this and even wanted to get the Beast Tamer spell. Yunxi felt that she had never been so shocked and excited in her life. Luo Qingtong's idea was too bold. Yunxi originally wanted to persuade Luo Qingtong not to do this. After all, the beast-taming King's Valley was a first-class sect. Coupled with the existence of the Celestial Palace and other forces, it was too dangerous for Luo Qingtong to go against them. But before she could say anything, she recalled how Luo Qingtong and the beast-taming King's Valley became enemies, sneaking into the beast-taming King's Valley and messing it up. Not only that, she even framed the people of beast-taming King's Valley, causing them to become enemies with the people of Celestial Palace, making them take the blame for her. Yunxi thought about what she had heard from others or what she had personally experienced, and she felt that what she had to say was too weak. Luo Qingtong had already done such a thing, so why would she be afraid of going against the beast-taming King's Valley? Thinking about this, the corners of Yunxi's mouth twitched slightly, and she didn't say anything else. Feeling nervous and excited, she came to the Broken Star Valley with Luo Qingtong and the Yun family. At this moment, many people had gathered in the Broken Star Valley. After hearing that the people of the beast-taming King's Valley were calling for help, almost all the sects and forces nearby who were willing to come had rushed over. Those who were unwilling to come would not come again. When the people of the Yun family arrived, it was already late. Chapter 2056. After all, the time in the land of the deceased immortals was limited. No one wanted to waste time here and wait for others to come. The same went for the people from Beast-Taming Valley and Celestial Palace. After all, they had a bigger ambition. They wanted to finish things here before the aura of the Forbidden Land weakened. Then they would have a chance to enter the Forbidden Land and get the treasures inside. Especially the people from Beast-Taming Valley. That was what they thought. After they got the 5th beast-taming incantation, the drawbacks of contracting demonic beasts would disappear. When they completely communicated with their contracted demonic beasts, their strength would be at least twice as strong as their current strength. Let's go. Seeing that almost all the people had arrived and had reached the number he expected, beast-taming King Guguju's face turned cold. He waved his hand at the crowd and asked them to follow him into the Shattered Star Valley. The people from the Yun family were mixed in the crowd. Before they could ask about the situation here, they were pushed into the valley by the crowd. Luo Qingtong, on the other hand, had already learned about the situation in Broken Star Valley from the conversations of the people around her when she entered the entrance. The truth was similar to what she thought. The people from Beast-Taming Valley and Celestial Palace had indeed entered the Shattered Star Valley once. But they were not strong enough and had to retreat. The reason why they called everyone here was to ask them to help them enter the depths of the Shattered Star Valley. As long as they could enter, no matter how much effort they put in, they would be rewarded by Beast-Taming Valley. Hearing these people's conversation, Luo Qing narrowed her eyes. The Beast-Taming King Valley's offer was simply too generous. No matter how much effort they put in, they would be rewarded. Didn't this mean that there were many people who wanted to fish in troubled waters? Or rather, they didn't care whether they put in effort or not, as long as they had enough people? Thinking of this, Luo Qingtong suddenly narrowed her eyes. Sometimes, some small details were the easiest to expose the problem. There was definitely something fishy about the people from Beast-Taming Valley and Celestial Palace calling these people here. They couldn't just be here to help. Others might think that Beast-Taming Valley thought that more people meant more power. Therefore, as long as someone contributed, they would be rewarded in order to attract more people. But Luo Qingtong could see more than that. Would those people from the Beast-Taming King's Valley make such a loss-making deal? No matter what level of cultivation they were going to accept them. Obviously, they were looking for cannon fodder to replace them. It was very likely that these people had become bait for the people of Beast-Taming King's Valley. They were using them to catch something that they wanted to catch. As she thought about this, Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes and said to Yunxi, who was beside her, "There's something wrong here. Follow me closely later." Luo Qingtong might not have the time or energy to take care of Yunxi. If the other party could follow her closely, then they might have a chance to survive. If he didn't follow closely, then there was nothing he could do. Luo Qingtong would not go out of her way to save her. Yes. Yunxi nodded. She was very nervous and her palms were sweating. However, his eyes couldn't help but shine. She always felt that she seemed to be experiencing something extremely crazy and exciting. Chapter 2057. Perhaps it was because the girl in front of her was the most amazing and unbelievable girl she had ever seen in her short life of more than 10 years. She had a feeling that Luo Qingtong might really succeed. After telling Yunxi, Luo Qingtong let the corpse puppet of the great Yong Saint come closer to her. That's right. After Luo Qingtong let the corpse puppet of the great Yong Saint leave to hunt other Yin corpses, she let it disguise itself and follow her and the Yun family. Of course, Little Pig played a part in this. The latter had dressed up the corpse puppet that the great Yong Saint had transformed into to a lifelike state. Now, he was mixed in the crowd and wearing a veil hat, so he didn't give himself away at all. All the questions and conversations were answered by Little Pig hiding in the corpse puppet's arms, so he was able to get away with it. After receiving Luo Qingtong's order, the corpse puppet of the great Yong Saint immediately moved closer to Luo Qingtong's side. In the Yun family, the patriarch of the Yun family followed the crowd and led the people of the Yun family inside. At the same time, he asked Luo Qingtong, ninth young master, it seems that the people of your Mingxin sect didn't see them? He wanted to get close to the people of the Mingxin sect. However, he didn't expect to see the people of the Mingxin sect after coming to the Shattered Stars Valley. And Luo Qingtong didn't seem to have any intention of looking for her sect. Oh. Luo Qingtong looked indifferent. I didn't see anyone of my sect. Maybe they were delayed by something and didn't come here. There were countless dangers in the land of the deceased immortals, so Luo Qingtong's words were not suspicious. After all, it was the truth. If they hadn't luckily escaped from the Yin corpses, they might have all died. How could they have the chance to come to the Shattered Stars Valley? Hearing Luo Qingtong's words, the people of the Yun family didn't have any special reaction. The patriarch of the Yun family was just a little disappointed. However, with Luo Qingtong here, it was the same for him to get to know the people of the Mingxin sect in the future. Thinking of this, he didn't say anything more. On the contrary, it was Concubine Li. After hearing Luo Qingtong's words, his expression immediately became sharp and unkind. Humph. I think she might be lying. What Brightheart sect's disciple? Who knows if he's a fake? And you? Yunxi, don't think that you're all that just because you've hooked up with a disciple from a fourth-class clan. Her voice was high and shrill. Do they know that you've offended someone from the beast-taming King's Valley? Who knows when they'll kill you? She raised her voice and squinted her triangular eyes. It was clear that she deliberately said it for Luo Qingtong to hear. So that Luo Qingtong could stay away from Yunxi. This way, regardless of whether the other party was a disciple of a fourth-class clan or not, Yunxi would have no one to rely on. In fact, Concubine Li was very angry when Luo Qingtong appeared. She didn't plan on using Yunxi this time. She didn't plan on using Yunxi to lure out Luo Qingtong, so she would kill her completely. However, Luo Qingtong's appearance changed her plan. Once this young man tried his best to protect Yunxi, with the background of a fourth-class clan, unless the people of the beast-taming King's Valley took action, they would definitely kill Yunxi. Otherwise, the people of the Yun family would never offend them. However, the beast-taming King's Valley was a first-class clan. Chapter 2058. Concubine Li was afraid that she wouldn't be able to give Yun Yan a chance to take revenge, so she wanted to discredit Luo Qingtong and make her stay away from Yunxi. That way, she could continue to deal with Yunxi and avenge Yun Yan without worrying about anyone stopping her. As she thought about it, her voice became sharper and more high-pitched. However, Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. She glanced at her and ignored her. What was the point of arguing with such a clown? Luo Qingtong wasn't in the mood for that, especially at a time like this. When the other party didn't die this time and came back to talk to her, she might be in the mood to teach her a lesson. She would just treat it as a dog barking. Yunxi apologized in a low voice, I'm sorry. She is Yun Yan's mother. Because of me, she is treating you like this. Before she could finish, Luo Qingtong glanced at her and said calmly, "No need to apologize. She doesn't know who I am. Otherwise, she would have attacked me long ago. What does it have to do with you?" They both had a grudge against Concubine Li, so Yunxi didn't have to apologize. Yunxi was taken aback. Then she felt that it was true. However, Luo Qingtong was being scolded by Concubine Li with a different identity, so she felt a little apologetic. After all, Luo Qingtong had joined the Yuns because she saw her. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been scolded by Concubine Li. Yunxi was about to speak when Luo Qingtong's voice continued to ring in her mind. "Moreover, someone will teach her a lesson." As soon as Luo Qingtong finished speaking, Yunxi heard the Yun's patriarch shout, "Enough! Fourth brother, look after your woman." The Yun's patriarch's expression was cold. Concubine Li had dealt with Yunxi in various ways, both openly and secretly. After all, the latter was useless to the Yuns. But Yi Jiu was different. He was a disciple of a fourth-class clan. The Yun family's patriarch originally wanted to use Luo Qingtong to climb up the Clear Heart Sex Road. How could he allow Concubine Li to speak to Luo Qingtong like this? He also said that Luo Qingtong might be lying and that she wasn't a disciple of the Clear Heart sect. Wasn't this saying that he was blind and had misjudged the person, that he couldn't even tell whether the other party was a true disciple of the Bright Heart sect or not? From Concubine Li's words, Yun family's patriarch could tell that she wasn't belittling and ridiculing Luo Qingtong, but rather, she was mocking him. He immediately flew into a rage. "If I hear any more rude remarks about the ninth young master, your family can forget about staying in the main branch in the future," he said coldly. Yes. The man who was called Old Fourth was Yunxi's father. Hearing this, he immediately agreed, stepped forward, and viciously dragged Concubine Li away. Although he usually doted on Concubine Li very much. But at this time, he still couldn't allow Concubine Li to make trouble for him. Not to mention that her actions had already seriously affected his status in the main branch. "Shut up." He directly slapped Concubine Li's face. "If you speak to the ninth young master because of Yun Yen again, you can get out of the Yun family." Yun Laoxi's voice was filled with anger. He didn't have any father-daughter feelings for Yun Shi, and usually indulged Concubine Li to be harsh to the mother and daughter. But now, Yun Shi had already climbed up the ranks of the Clear Heart sect's disciples. Naturally, he couldn't let Concubine Li go overboard. Slap. This slap landed hard on Concubine Li's face, and in an instant, half of her face swelled up. She screamed at the top of her lungs, "Yun Laoxi, you," before she could finish her words. In an instant, the situation around her changed abruptly. It was over. Chapter 2059. Translations. Bang. Suddenly, the sound of an attack came from the front. Then, miserable screams rang out in an instant. Hearing this, the Yun family and Luo Qingtong turned to look at the front. The people who were walking at the very front seemed to have suffered some kind of attack. In an instant, a large number of people screamed. Many of them were bleeding profusely, and the surrounding people were in chaos. What's going on? They looked around but didn't see any enemy. But the people lying in pools of blood in front of them told them that the enemy had appeared and was near them. Everyone felt an indescribable horror in their hearts. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes coldly. She looked very serious. It was for no other reason than the fact that what she saw in her blood-red eyes was completely different from what others saw. She saw that the depths of the shattered Star Valley were densely packed with blood-red figures. That's right, it was the blood immortal jade bone that she had killed and refined before she had fought with it before. At this moment, the depths of the shattered Star Valley were filled with blood-red figures. No wonder the beast-taming valley and the celestial palace couldn't get the fifth part of the beast-taming incantation from the depths of the shattered Star Valley. It turned out that the depths of the shattered Star Valley were completely occupied by the blood-red immortal jade bones. Luo Qingtong had seen these blood-red immortal jade bones before, so she knew how powerful they were. She also knew that these blood-red immortal jade bones were always invisible in the eyes of others. There was no way to catch a trace of them. Unless they were attached to a corpse. But even if they were attached to a corpse, they couldn't hurt them because they didn't have a physical body at all. After seeing the densely packed blood-red figures, Luo Qingtong roughly understood why the beast-taming valley had gathered so many people. They wanted to use these people as cannon fodder to restrain the blood-red immortal jade bones. No wonder they promised so generously. So this was their plan. Luo Qingtong sneered. As for the blood immortal jade bones, when they saw so many people rushing towards their location, they immediately launched an attack. They roared and attacked the crowd. Their roars could only be heard by Luo Qingtong and the beast-taming King Gu Guzhu and other experts above the Holy Emperor realm. Countless sound waves and roars blew gusts of wind in the depths of the shattered Star Valley. The surrounding spiritual energy was surging and rioting. The people who came in with the beast-taming valley didn't know what was going on, so they screamed miserably one after another. Ah! Just like those people in front of them, people kept dying in the crowd. At this moment, those who had been killed by the blood-red figures stood up shakily and pounced on the people beside them. They were possessed by the blood-red immortal jade bones. At this moment, they stood up again and pounced on the people in front of them like living creatures. Ah! Sharp screams rang out, and the surroundings were like hell on earth. Chapter 2060. These skeletons weren't weak to begin with, and they could even control the movements of the corpses. This meant that every time someone died, it would become a boost for the blood immortal jade bones transformation. It was impossible to guard against them. The more they killed, the fewer people they had left. On the other hand, the skeletons grew stronger and stronger. If this continued, they would be completely annihilated here sooner or later. The factions that followed the beast-taming valley and were scared out of their wits. There were also people who immediately recognized the immortal jade bones after seeing them attached to the corpses. They're bloody corpses. They're the damn things that created bloody corpses. Their shrill cries caused the expressions of those who didn't know what was going on to change. Bloody corpses? Everyone who could enter the land of the fallen immortals knew about the terrifying existence of the blood carrion. Even those who hadn't seen them before had heard of them. Basically, anyone who encountered them would die a horrible death. Unless it was an expert of the Saint Emperor realm or above, if they were lucky, they might be able to escape from the hands of that thing. Otherwise, they wouldn't even know how they died. Were these things attached to the corpses the same damn things that created bloody corpses? Everyone's faces turned pale in an instant. They looked at the corpses of their companions that were controlled by the blood immortal jade bones and pounced on them. Only then did they realize that the corpses were indeed very similar to the blood-rotting corpses. The only difference was that one was a fresh corpse, and the other was a rotten corpse. But weren't rotten corpses formed from fresh corpses? Their faces turned even paler at this thought. It really is those damn things. Run, run. They didn't want to stay here any longer. They didn't know what these things were before. Now that they knew they were all the same damn things that created bloody corpses, and there were clearly many of them, how could they dare to stay any longer? Were they going to stay and become food for these bloody corpses? Their faces were filled with panic and fear as they hurriedly ran away. They were in the same state as when the beast-taming valley and celestial palace fled. It was just that those from the beast-taming valley and celestial palace had escaped. However, they were summoned here by the beast-taming king's valley and the celestial palace. How could the latter allow them to escape so easily? If they ran away, where would the beast-taming king's valley and the celestial palace find other people to die for them? After all, the news of what happened in Shattered Star Valley would spread if they ran away. Thus, when these people turned around, they discovered that the people from the beast-taming king's valley and celestial palace who were leading the way had all ran behind them at some point. At this moment, the beast-taming king valley's valley master and the others were looking at them with a cold smile. Everyone, since you're already here, why are you in such a rush to leave? Since you've decided to help us, then, help us. The beast-taming king valley master and the others had a cold expression on their faces as they waved their hands to signal for their men to disperse and block off all possible escape routes. Seeing this, the people from the other forces were in despair. Chapter 2061. It was obvious that they wanted them to die. By this time, they had fully understood the intentions of the people from Beast Taming Valley and Celestial Palace. The reason why they had gathered them here was not to ask for their help. They were here to send them to their deaths. The hearts of the Yun family members were filled with despair. They had never thought that they would end up like this after coming to the Broken Star Valley. The people from Beast Taming Valley had called them here to find a scapegoat. Together with the rest of the people, they could forget about going back alive. They all looked desperate. Luo Qingtong frowned as she looked at the figures of the blood-colored celestial jade bones rushing toward them. She hadn't expected that the depths of the Broken Star Valley would be full of such things. Luo Qingtong could see through the transformation of the blood-colored celestial jade bones, but it didn't mean that she could break through so many of them and rush into the innermost part of the valley. It seemed that she couldn't sneak in and get the fifth part of the beast-taming incantation. The transformation of the blood-colored celestial jade bones was obstructing her in the depths of the Broken Star Valley. She had to deal with them first. Moreover, there were also the people from Beast Taming Valley and Celestial Palace. Luo Qingtong couldn't let them use these people to restrain the transformation of the blood-colored celestial jade bones. Otherwise, it would be more difficult for her to succeed if the two families were free. What's more, even if she couldn't get the fifth part of the beast-taming incantation, she couldn't let the people from Beast Taming Valley get it. Thinking of this, Luo Qingtong suddenly had an idea. At this moment, Concubine Li, who had just been slapped by Yun Laosi, screamed in a shrill voice. "It's you, little bitch. It's you who brought this disaster. Otherwise, how could the Yun family be so unlucky? We came to the Broken Star Valley to help, but we encountered such a thing." Concubine Li's voice was shrill. At this moment, she had completely lost her mind and rushed toward Yun Shi. "And you, a disciple of the Mingxin clan? I think you're this little bitch's lover. Both of you, die together." As she spoke, she sent a palm strike toward Yun Shi. At the same time, she sent another palm strike toward Luo Qingtong. Concubine Li's expression was ferocious. She thought that they were going to die, so she couldn't care about anything else. Before she died, she would definitely teach these two B***Ches a lesson. With a ferocious expression, she pounced toward Luo Qingtong and Yun Shi, and the aura around her surged. That sharp hand was about to touch Yun Shi. With her strength, Yun Shi definitely wouldn't be able to withstand a single blow from her. Seeing her move, Luo Qingtong's eyes turned cold and she raised her hand. Clang! The life and death yin-yang sword appeared in her hand and she swung it in an instant. Bang! Before Concubine Li could get close to Yun Shi, she was mercilessly sent flying by Luo Qingtong's sword. She screamed in a shrill voice and fell into the group of blood-colored immortal jade skeletons that had rushed over. In an instant, she was torn into pieces by the corpses controlled by the blood-colored immortal jade skeletons. The beast-taming King Gu Guju and the others heard the noise and turned to look. Chapter 2062. Luo Qingtong. They looked at the youngster, no, the girl standing in the crowd with a long sword in her hand. Luo Qingtong had taken off her disguise and changed back to her original appearance. She looked at the beast tamer King Gu Guju and the others with a faint smile and said, "Beast tamer King Gu Guju, Celestial Palace, how have you been?" Hearing her voice, the beast tamer King Gu Guju and the master of Celestial Palace looked extremely ferocious. "Bitch, how dare you show up in front of us? How dare you sneak into this group of people?" The beast tamer King Gu Guju and the master of Celestial Palace didn't expect to see Luo Qingtong here. They didn't know what this bitch wanted to do. Fortunately, they forced her to show up by using these people as cannon fodder. Otherwise, they didn't know what she would do after following these people into the depths of the Shattered Star Valley. The beast tamer King Gu Guju and the master of Celestial Palace didn't think that Luo Qingtong sneaked into this group of people just to say hello to them. Especially the beast tamer King Gu Guju, he knew that Luo Qingtong knew the secret of the Shattered Star Valley. This bitch. If it weren't for the fact that they were afraid that she would reveal the secret here and cause unnecessary trouble, they would have done everything they could. Otherwise, they wouldn't have risked everything to take out the thing inside the valley. The beast tamer King Gu Guju was furious. He looked at Luo Qingtong with eyes full of killing intent and hatred. This bitch had caused such a huge commotion in their beast-taming king valley. How dare she show up here? What was she up to? This time, they must kill her. Men, surround her. I don't care if she lives or dies. The beast-tamer King Gu Guju shouted with a ferocious face. The Celestial Palace Master also ordered his men to attack Luo Qingtong. The young girl had the treasure map on her. As long as they could kill her, they would be able to obtain the treasure map regardless of whether she was dead or alive. They, the people of Celestial Palace, could at least get a share of the loot. Luo Qingtong, just wait for your death. Everyone's expression was ferocious. Apart from leaving a few people to guard the path leading to the valley entrance, the rest rushed towards Luo Qingtong. Watching them rush over, Yunxi felt indescribably nervous. Qingtong. She looked at the girl beside her, wondering why the other party would suddenly reveal her identity. The beast-taming King's Valley and Celestial Palace wanted her dead. Luo Qingtong was in danger. Qingtong, immediately change my appearance to yours, then quickly run. I'll help you block them. Yunxi gritted her teeth. She saw how Luo Qingtong had just restored her appearance in an instant. If the other party had such speed and helped her disguise herself, they would definitely be able to get away with it. With so many people here, they could just hide in any place. When they came out again, the people of the beast-taming King's Valley and Celestial Palace would definitely not know who they were. At that time, Luo Qingtong could directly change her appearance and leave. As soon as Yunxi said this, Luo Qingtong looked at her and smiled. No need. I'll be fine. Since Luo Qingtong dared to restore her identity at this time, she was naturally confident. Otherwise, with concubine Li's strength, how could she need to use the life and death sword? He sent her flying with a single kick. She couldn't be any more dead. Luo Qingtong took out the life and death sword in order to let the people of the beast-taming King's Valley and Celestial Palace see through her identity. Chapter 2063. Luo Qingtong's eyes swept across the crowd, then she said in a deep voice, I'm sure you've heard it. I'm Luo Qingtong. She narrowed her eyes, I can help you deal with the blood immortal jade bones, as long as you help me deal with the people from beast-taming King Valley and Celestial Palace. I'll help you get out of this shattered star valley. What do you think? Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows slightly. When the crowd heard her words, a commotion broke out. Luo Qingtong. She's that Luo Qingtong? Everyone present was no stranger to Luo Qingtong's name. Recently, in the hidden world, news about Luo Qingtong was all over the place. Of course, that was Luo Qingtong's other name, Night Eye. However, at the entrance of the land of the fallen immortals, most of the people who saw Luo Qingtong confronting the people from beast-taming King Valley and Celestial Palace knew that Luo Qingtong was Night Eye. The two of them were the same person. And Luo Qingtong was also an honorary guest elder of the Sky Yuan sect. She was a young girl, yet she was able to make a name for herself in the hidden world among several large sections. Luo Qingtong even played the people from beast-taming King Valley and Celestial Palace in the palm of her hand. If Fang Jingyu hadn't forced her to swear on the man beside her, she wouldn't have taken the initiative to reveal her identity. The misunderstanding between beast-taming King Valley and Celestial Palace wouldn't be resolved so easily. And the people from beast-taming King Valley couldn't deal with Luo Qingtong. Such a legendary girl, even those who didn't pay much attention to the outside world inevitably heard about her. And this wasn't the main reason why everyone was restless. They were restless because of the treasure map in Luo Qingtong's hands. At this moment, Luo Qingtong's words were said by another person. Even if the other party's reputation was greater than Luo Qingtong's, and the commotion she caused in the hidden world was more intense, no one would be willing to listen to her. But Luo Qingtong was different. The girl had the treasure map of the land of the fallen immortals. This was confirmed by the people of beast-taming King's Valley and Celestial Palace from the beginning. And it was precisely because of this treasure map that the situation between the two sides had become so tense. And that treasure map was with Luo Qingtong. This was what Luo Qingtong had admitted in front of everyone. Therefore, everyone was only pleasantly surprised by Luo Qingtong's words and did not question them. After all, the girl had that treasure map. Perhaps she really did have a way to deal with these blood-colored immortal jade bone transformations. Since she was trapped in the Broken Star Valley with them, she wouldn't risk her own life. With this thought in mind, everyone's spirits were lifted. Come on. Let's protect Luo Qingtong together. Don't let those bastards from beast-taming King's Valley and Celestial Palace hurt her. Among the crowd of people, some of the more powerful experts from the sects immediately ordered. They led the experts from their sects to surround Luo Qingtong, encircling her, Yun Shi, and the corpse puppet of the great Yong Saint. When the others heard this, they also recovered from their shock and gathered around this group of people from the sect. Chapter 2064. Bastard. Beast Tamer King Guguju and the Master of Celestial Palace were both anxious and angry when they saw this scene. They had never expected that Luo Qingtong would say such a thing. She could help those people deal with those damn things in the Broken Stars Valley? How could this be possible? They were both shocked and confused. This was especially true for the beast-taming King Valley's Valley Master, Elder Dark, and the others. Was Luo Qingtong bluffing to trick these people into protecting her, or did she really have a way? If she really had a way, they had an unspeakable bad feeling in their hearts. If Luo Qingtong really had a way to deal with these blood-red figures, then it would be a bad move for them to gather all these people and force them to their deaths. These people were forced to die by them, and Luo Qingtong happened to be able to save them. How could they not listen to Luo Qingtong? With the help of these people, Luo Qingtong went from being alone to being extremely powerful. She was completely capable of dealing with those blood-red figures. In this way, if she managed to break through the blockade of those blood-red figures, then all of their efforts this time would have been for nothing. Thinking of this, Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others were both anxious and angry in an instant. Do it. Kill Luo Qingtong quickly. Don't worry about the others. Kill those who stand in our way. A bad feeling arose in their hearts. Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others had suffered a great loss in the hands of Luo Qingtong before. Regardless of whether Luo Qingtong's words were true or not, it did not matter whether they were true or not. They couldn't give her any chance to make a comeback. Kill her. Beast Tamer King Guguju shouted coldly. Not far from Luo Qingtong, the people of the Yun family were already dumbfounded. When Luo Qingtong's identity was exposed, they had hurriedly distanced themselves from her. They had never thought that the disciple of the Brightheart sect they had met would be Luo Qingtong, who was wanted by Beast Tamer Valley and Celestial Palace. What was even more unexpected was that she knew that the people of Beast Tamer Valley and Celestial Palace were here and still came to the Broken Stars Valley. What kind of bear's heart and leopard's guts did she eat? When Luo Qingtong's identity was exposed, the people had hurriedly distanced themselves from Luo Qingtong, fearing that they would be implicated by Luo Qingtong if they were not careful. There were also people of the Yun family who wanted to use Luo Qingtong's identity to establish a relationship with Beast Tamer Valley. They wanted to tell the people of Beast Tamer Valley that they had deliberately tricked Luo Qingtong to come here, so that the people of Beast Tamer Valley would let them go. However, who would have thought that before their plan could be carried out, Luo Qingtong's situation would immediately reverse? The girl said that she could deal with those damn things of Beast Tamer Valley, and the people of other forces directly wanted to protect her. The people of the Yun family were indescribably dumbfounded. If Luo Qingtong could really deal with those damn things, then how stupid were they to hurriedly withdraw from her side? Especially when they wanted to use Luo Qingtong's matter to gain the favor and recognition of the beast-taming King Valley and beg the other party to let them go. How stupid were they? Chapter 2065. They would be lucky if the other party didn't kill them. How could they expect the other party to protect them? On the other hand, Luo Qingtong was different. Didn't they see that Yun Shi had been standing beside Luo Qingtong since the beginning? Now she was being protected by everyone? This was a great opportunity for them. They obviously had this opportunity, but they gave it up. As everyone thought about it, they instantly regretted it so much that their hearts, livers, spleens, and stomachs ached. While everyone in the Yun family was regretting their decision, Yun Shi looked at Luo Qingtong in surprise and shock. She didn't expect things to turn around like this. Her hand was still tightly grasping Luo Qingtong's sleeve. She wanted her to disguise herself, so that the two of them could switch places, and Luo Qingtong could leave safely. But she didn't expect Luo Qingtong to solve everything with just a few words. But was Luo Qingtong telling the truth? Could it be that she said it deliberately so that these people could protect them? If that was the case, what would happen if someone saw through it? Yun Shi was very conflicted. From the bottom of her heart, she was very willing for Luo Qingtong's words to be true. This way, both of them would be fine, along with the others. But from a rational point of view, she was worried that this was just a trick for Luo Qingtong to get away. If this was the case, when they were exposed later, there would be a bigger backlash. While Yun Shi was feeling uneasy, Luo Qingtong glanced at the people from the Beast Master Valley and the Celestial Palace who were rushing over desperately. Then she said to the people around her, "Let's go. Rush in the direction of the valley." In the depths of the Broken Star Valley was the gathering place of those bloody figures. At this moment, those bloody figures, together with the corpses they controlled, were rushing toward the people of the various forces. Even without Luo Qingtong's order, the people of these forces had no choice but to face these bloody figures and the corpses they controlled. After all, their rear was blocked by the people from Beast Taming King's Valley and Celestial Palace. The two forces were strong enough to stop all of them, making it impossible for them to break through the blockade and get out of Shattered Star Valley. Now that they heard Luo Qingtong's order, they only hesitated for a moment. Then, they gritted their teeth and rushed in the direction of the bloody figures. After all, Luo Qingtong said that she could deal with these things. As a result, the place where the blood-red figures gathered was their only chance of survival. After all, even if they worked together, they might not be able to deal with the people from Beast Taming King's Valley and Celestial Palace. He might as well charge in. With that thought in mind, everyone immediately took action. The people from the Yun family were left behind. They were both regretful and afraid, but they still followed Luo Qingtong and the others in the direction of the bloody figures. The people from Beast Taming King's Valley and Celestial Palace became even more anxious. B*TCH, does she really have a way? The Beast Master Gu Guju and the Master of Celestial Palace were indescribably angry. The bad feeling in their hearts was getting heavier and heavier. They hurriedly led their people to chase after Luo Qingtong and the others, trying to stop them all. Chapter 2066. At that time, they had indeed quietly surrounded a group of people from different forces. But now, when Luo Qingtong led these people to retreat, they couldn't catch up. Not only that, but as they rushed forward, those blood-colored figures also rushed towards them. As a result, before they could catch up to Luo Qingtong and the others, the latter had already rushed into the encirclement of those blood-colored figures. Ah! One of the sect disciples who was at the periphery of the encirclement was the first to confront the blood-colored figures and the corpses they controlled. When the mental power of the blood-colored figures blasted into his mind, he immediately let out a sharp cry and scratched himself desperately like a madman. Seeing this scene, the group of people surrounding Luo Qingtong were shocked and quickly looked at Luo Qingtong, who was surrounded by them. "Miss Tong, look at this," everyone was anxious. Luo Qingtong said that she could deal with these blood-colored figures. There shouldn't be a problem, right? Don't be unable to deal with them. Otherwise, all of them would have to die here. Damn it, these bastards from Beast Taming King's Valley and Celestial Palace, they actually forced them to come to their deaths. When they leave this place, they must make the despicable actions of Beast Taming King's Valley and Celestial Palace known to the public. Let everyone in the hidden world see how vicious and shameless their thoughts were. At that time, they would unite their sects and seek justice from beast-taming King's Valley and Celestial Palace. They would let the other party know that weak sects like theirs were not so easily bullied. Everyone gritted their teeth in hatred. If it weren't for this, they wouldn't have helped Luo Qingtong so decisively and stood on her side. When everyone looked over, Luo Qingtong's blood-colored eyes flashed. She had already clearly seen the location of the mental power attack that rushed into the mind of that sect disciple. Bang! She raised her hand and in an instant, the light from the life and death duality sword in her hand swept out and slashed towards that sect disciple. When they saw this scene, everyone's faces were instantly filled with shock. Was this the method that Luo Qingtong said to deal with those blood-colored figures? Directly slashing the person? But when facing those blood-colored figures, they also did the same thing. As long as someone was controlled, they would immediately attack. In this way, when one person was killed, the blood-colored figure's assistance would not continue to increase. But this was completely treating the symptoms and not the root cause. The more people on their side were killed, the weaker their side's strength. On the contrary, the blood-red figures didn't suffer any damage after the first person was killed. They continued to charge towards the second person and continued to control him. They couldn't continue to kill each other like this, right? If that's the case, they'll annihilate us sooner or later. If it weren't for this, they wouldn't have escaped from the valley. They did not expect Luo Qingtong to use the same method as them. What was the point of this? In the end, wouldn't they still die? They knew that this method wouldn't work, so they raced to escape. Everyone's hearts were filled with indescribable disappointment and anger. They felt that they had been inexplicably played by someone. Chapter 2067. Bang! Luo Qingtong's sword light landed on the disciple's body, but it didn't leave a single mark on him. However, the disciple held his head and screamed in an instant. His scream was so shrill that it made one's hair stand on end. Obviously, it wasn't a human scream. It carried an extremely sharp and resounding aura of violence and death. In the next second, with a bang, everyone watched as a faint blood-red mist drifted out of his mind. Then, with a boom, it exploded into a cloud of blood mist in front of everyone. At the same time, an explosion came from somewhere deep in the Broken Stars Valley in the distance. Then, blood gurgled out of it, leaving a blood-red mark on the ground. Everyone opened their eyes wide in an instant. Was the thing that Luo Qingtong hacked out the culprit of the bloody carrion? Those damn things that they couldn't see and couldn't do anything to? Everyone was shocked. However, Luo Qingtong looked indifferent. She withdrew the life and death sword in her hand. Then, she narrowed her eyes and flicked her fingers. Swish. 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 She flicked out streaks of aura into the bodies of the blood-red figures in front of her, leaving a clear mark on their bodies. Do you see the mark in their bodies? Hit them. Luo Qingtong's eyes turned cold. The reason why they couldn't defeat these blood-red figures was that they couldn't resist the spiritual power attack of these blood-red figures and couldn't resist the control of their spiritual power. Secondly, they couldn't see where these blood-red figures were, so they couldn't attack them at all. Under the superposition of these two factors, the blood-red figures could only attack them, while they couldn't fight back. However, at this moment, Luo Qingtong used her aura to leave a mark on those blood-red figures. The crowd only needed to attack according to her aura. It was equivalent to the blood-red figures losing their ability to hide completely. In this way, the crowd could deal with them. After all, things that couldn't be seen or touched were the scariest. As for things that could be seen and touched, no matter how ferocious they were just lambs waiting to be slaughtered. As soon as Luo Qingtong did this, everyone was pleasantly surprised. They attacked according to Luo Qingtong's instructions, only to find that the thing that had been marked by Luo Qingtong's aura suddenly burst into a bloody mist under their attacks. The blood Immortal Jade Bone's transformation was finally broken. Everyone was shocked and pleasantly surprised. They huddled together and relied on Luo Qingtong to push forward. They attacked the bloody figures that had been marked by Luo Qingtong's aura. Luo Qingtong would deal with those who were carelessly controlled by the bloody figure. The girl brandished the life and death yin-yang sword in her hand. Every time a silvery white sword light flashed, she would reap the transformation of a crimson immortal jade bone. No one knew how Luo Qingtong did it. The crowd needed several people to combine their attacks to barely eliminate the transformation of these crimson immortal jade bones. Chapter 2068. A single person's thoughts were useless against it. Only when everyone worked together would they be able to kill it. Luo Qingtong, on the other hand, could easily kill it with her sword. Not only that, her sword light didn't hurt anyone. It was as if it was specifically targeted at these crimson figures. Everyone vaguely guessed that it was probably because Luo Qingtong found a way to deal with these crimson figures from the treasure map. Everyone was only guessing and didn't dare to confirm it. Only Luo Qingtong and Little Pig understood that this wasn't the effect of the treasure map. It was because the sword light in Luo Qingtong's hand was the sword light of the life blade. The blood immortal jade bone's form was equivalent to a spirit. Its nature was similar to that of a ghost. Luo Qingtong's life blade wasn't a sword for killing. It was a sword that could increase one's strength and replenish one's aura. It carried with it the power of vitality. When she swung her sword, the crimson figure's mental attacks that rushed into the martial artists' minds were instantly cut off. Not only that, but the crimson figures formed by the blood immortal jade bone were also killed by the boundless life force contained in the life blade. After all, life force was also a type of mental power. Under Luo Qingtong's control, it could naturally be transformed into an attack. Bang bang bang. The mental attacks that rushed into the martial artists' bodies were all cut off. And if the crimson figures that rushed into the martial artists' bodies and tried to control them, they were also killed by Luo Qingtong's life blade. Along the way, Luo Qingtong and the others kept moving forward. On the other hand, the beast-taming King's Valley and Celestial Palace's members who were chasing after them were in for a hard time. They didn't have Luo Qingtong's ability to see through the existence of the crimson figures and kill them. After several attacks, they figured out that the crimson figures that were tainted with Luo Qingtong's aura were the ghostly things that controlled the blood-rotting corpses. However, they didn't have anything like Luo Qingtong's life blade, which could kill those bloody figures that invaded and controlled their people. Therefore, even though they were able to kill the blood-colored figures that were tainted with Luo Qingtong's aura, they were still able to do so. However, if he didn't avoid the attacks of these blood-red figures and allowed them to enter his mind and possess him, he would be finished. The people from beast-taming King's Valley and Celestial Palace wanted to kill the bloody figures and the corpses they controlled. At the same time, he had to deal with their attacks and the people around him who were suddenly controlled by these blood-red figures. He was not as relaxed and comfortable as Luo Qingtong and the others when dealing with these bloody figures. The beast-tamer King Gu Guju and the Celestial Palace Master were indescribably furious, but there was no better way. They could only endure the attacks of the blood-red figures and continue forward. They couldn't let Luo Qingtong and the others take the lead. After all, other people didn't know what was in this broken star valley, but Luo Qingtong did. Moreover, if the other party obtained the fifth beast-taming secret art, the consequences would be unimaginable. Not to mention whether Luo Qingtong's beast-taming gift was fake or not, just based on the enmity between them and the other party. After obtaining the beast-taming secret art, she definitely wouldn't give it to them. Moreover, in order to take revenge on them, Luo Qingtong might even make the beast-taming secret art in her hands public. In that case, their beast-taming King's Valley would be finished. Thinking of this, the people from beast-taming King's Valley couldn't help but shudder in their hearts. They hurriedly rushed forward even more desperately. Chapter 2069. Luo Qingtong and the others had already rushed into the innermost area. In the deepest part of the shattered Star Valley, there was an extremely deep cave. There was a faint light inside, but they couldn't see clearly what was inside. But what was certain was that the fifth beast-taming art that the people of beast-taming King Valley needed was inside. Go, let's go in. Luo Qingtong's eyes slightly narrowed, and she said to the people around her. After walking all the way here, the people of the various forces were already incomparably convinced by her words. If it weren't for the girl leading them in, they would have already been blocked by the people of Beast Taming King Valley and Celestial Palace. They could only become cannon fodder and be killed by those blood-colored figures. Now that Luo Qingtong told them to rush in, they didn't have any hesitation. Behind them were the people of Beast Taming King Valley and Celestial Palace. The latter and the others were chasing after them at this moment. If they were caught by them, they would be in trouble. They could only rush into the depths of the cave and see what was inside. The people of Beast Taming King Valley and Celestial Palace would do anything to get what was inside. Presumably, it would become the thing they relied on to leave here. Thinking of this, the group hurriedly rushed into the cave. And the people of Beast Taming King Valley and Celestial Palace had already forced their way here. They landed not far behind Luo Qingtong and the others, watching them rush into the cave. In an instant, the veins on Beast Taming King Guguju's forehead were about to explode. Quick! Don't care about those blood-colored figures anymore, rush to the front and stop Luo Qingtong. He angrily shouted. And when the higher-ups of Beast Taming King Valley and Celestial Palace heard his words, they suddenly stared blankly. What did Beast Taming King Guguju mean by this? At this moment, the people of Beast Taming King Valley and Celestial Palace were fighting those blood-colored figures that were rushing in from all directions. It was already very strenuous. The Beast Tamer King Guguju said this. Could it be that he wanted to? Beast Taming King's Valley and Celestial Palace's upper echelons were still thinking about this when they heard Beast Taming King Guguju's cold voice. Don't bother with these low-level disciples, let's charge over. The we he was referring to was naturally the higher-ups of Beast Taming King's Valley and Celestial Palace. Beast Tamer King Guguju's words clearly indicated that he wanted to give up on the lower-level disciples of Beast Tamer Valley and Celestial Palace, and only bring the higher-level experts of Beast Tamer Valley and Celestial Palace forward. This would increase their speed, but at the same time, the disciples of Celestial Palace and Beast Taming King's Valley would all become cannon fodder. It was already difficult for them to deal with these crimson figures. Now that the group of high-level experts had left, these people who were left behind would all become the sacrificial lambs to attract and restrain the crimson figures. They would die without a doubt. Valley Master. Valley Master, please don't. The disciples of Beast Taming King's Valley and Celestial Palace wailed. The higher-ups of Celestial Palace and Beast Taming King's Valley were also indescribably bewildered. Abandoning their disciples like this was too difficult a choice to make. After all, these disciples who had followed them to the fallen immortal land were all elites of their sections. They were the cream of the crop. If they abandoned all of them here, the strength of their sects would be greatly damaged after leaving the fallen immortal land in the future. Chapter 2070. They didn't know how long it would take for them to train another batch of elites like this. The entire middle and lower echelons of the sect would be in a state of shortage. While everyone was hesitant, the Beast Tamer King Guguju spoke again with a ruthless look on his face. If there are no more disciples, we can find and train them again. But if Luo Qingtong gets what's inside today, our Beast Tamer Valley will be finished. And your Celestial Palace. He turned to the Celestial Palace Master. You have a part in gathering these people here to die. And you have a grudge against Luo Qingtong. Do you think she'll let us go after she gets what's inside? Our Beast Tamer Valley won't be able to get away with it, and so will your Celestial Palace. Don't forget that she still has the treasure map of the land of the fallen immortals in her hands. If she gets what she wants today, then the treasure map of the land of the fallen immortals might be hers. The stronger she is, the more dangerous it will be for our two sects. It's up to you to decide. The Celestial Palace Master's face turned cold as soon as he heard Guguju's words. In fact, he was already thinking of backing out just now. To him, Celestial Palace was only here to help the Beast Tamer Valley. Now that they couldn't help, and there was the risk of being implicated, he naturally didn't want to continue. Not to mention that the beast tamer King Guguju wanted him to give up on the disciples of Celestial Palace. How could that be? Celestial Palace didn't need to spare any effort to help the Beast Tamer Valley. Were they willing to destroy the foundation of their sect just for the sake of some benefits that the other party had promised them? He wasn't an idiot. However, the Beast Tamer King Guguju's words reminded him of something. They had a grudge against Luo Qingtong. If Luo Qingtong got what she wanted in the Shattered Star Valley, it would seem that the Beast Tamer Valley would be at a disadvantage, but Celestial Palace would also be in big trouble in the future. It seemed that they had to help the Beast Tamer Valley no matter what. No matter what, Luo Qingtong couldn't get what was inside. What is that thing inside? He couldn't help but ask Guguju. The Beast Tamer Valley's most complete spell. At this point, the Beast Taming King Valley Master could no longer hide the truth. With a gloomy expression, he said to the Celestial Peak Palace Master and the others, "Now you know why our Beast Taming King's Valley must stop her from obtaining the items inside, right? If Luo Qingtong's Luo Qingtong, then Luo Qingtong's S spells Luo Qingtong's S Luo Qingtong. And you people of Celestial Palace may not be able to escape. If Luo Qingtong got the 5th Beast Tamer spell, and she really had the Luo Qingtong's talent, then Beast Tamer Valley's outstanding position in the hidden world would be completely destroyed. And the people of Celestial Palace, who had a grudge against her, wouldn't be able to get any benefits. Not to mention that Luo Qingtong still had the treasure map of the land of the fallen immortals. If she had the chance to get her hands on the treasures inside, then their two families would be done for. Chapter 2071. At this time, even if the master of Celestial Palace was reluctant, there was nothing he could do. They had to help the people of Beast Taming King's Valley. Hearing his words, the group of disciples of Beast Taming King's Valley and Celestial Palace wailed even louder. Facing the attacks of the blood-colored figures, the group of people felt an indescribable despair in their hearts at the abandonment of the higher-ups. From time to time, no one thought of resisting, but at this time, they were already doing their best to deal with the attacks of the blood-colored figures. There was simply no way to resist or deal with Beast Taming King Guguju and the others. They could only watch helplessly as they abandoned them and left. The group of disciples of Beast Taming King's Valley and Celestial Palace never thought that. They had been laughing and laughing as they watched the people of those forces being intercepted and left to die. In the end, retribution came so quickly. Those people of those forces didn't die much. They had been abandoned by the higher-ups. They had replaced the role of those people of those forces. They had become cannon fodder. The group of disciples of Beast Taming King's Valley and Celestial Palace wailed loudly, their faces filled with indescribable despair. However, Beast Taming King Guguju and the others didn't turn back to look at them. Taking advantage of them holding back the blood-colored figures that were rushing over, Beast Taming King Guguju and Celestial Palace's higher-ups rushed in the direction of Luo Qingtong and the others at an extremely fast speed. The latter and the others were already approaching the cave. The surrounding blood-colored figures were getting fewer and fewer. It seemed that there were no more blood-colored celestial jade bones in the vicinity of the cave. When Luo Qingtong and the others were about 100 meters away from the entrance of the cave, all the blood-colored figures had disappeared. The blood-colored figures that had been killed and blocked by Luo Qingtong and the others behind them. When Luo Qingtong and the others entered within 100 meters of the cave, they were shocked. They no longer rushed in this direction to attack them. Instead, they stood 100 meters away from the cave. It let out a sharp roar at them, emitting sound waves that ordinary people couldn't hear. It was clear that they did not dare to approach this place. Seeing this, Luo Qingtong's eyes narrowed. Her gaze swept across the hole in front of her, which seemed to be flickering with an indistinct light, as the bloody light in her eyes flickered intensely. It was at this moment that the Beast Taming King Valley's Valley Master and the others abandoned their disciples and rushed over to the scene. Soon, he rushed behind Luo Qingtong and the others. "Bitch, let's see where you can run to this time." The Beast Tamer King Guguju and the Celestial Palace Master looked indescribably ferocious. They had abandoned a group of elite disciples. This debt must be repaid with blood by Luo Qingtong. Seeing the beast tamer King Gu Guju and the others rushing over, the people from the various forces were instantly flustered. What should we do? Beast tamer King Gu Guju and the others are coming. Everyone's hearts were indescribably panicked. Beast tamer King Gu Guju and the others were the top experts of the first-rate sects. Moreover, they were the top experts of the hidden world. Among the people from the various forces, the strongest was only in the Sage Emperor realm. Even if there were many people, they were absolutely no match for them. Seeing the group of Beast Tamer King's Valley and Celestial Palace's upper echelons rushing over, the people from the various forces suddenly trembled. Miss Tong. Chapter 2072. However, there were no longer any traces of those blood-red figures around. What was Luo Qingtong going to use to deal with Beast Tamer King Gu Guju and the others? Rush into that cave? Who knew if there was a path inside? Even if there was a path, with the strength of Beast Tamer King Gu Guju and the others, it was enough to catch up with them and kill them all before they could leave. The crowd never thought that Beast Tamer King Gu Guju and the others would catch up with them so quickly. The other party was really more than a little ruthless. They were even willing to abandon their own sect's elite disciples. The crowd thought in their hearts, unspeakable fear and terror. At this moment, Beast Tamer King Gu Guju's voice rang out. Everyone who is on Luo Qingtong's side, leave immediately. I'll spare your lives. Beast Tamer King Gu Guju's expression was ruthless. Naturally, he said this not because he was merciful and wanted to let these people off. It was because Luo Qingtong would no longer use these people to cause trouble. These people were helping Luo Qingtong, wasn't it because the other two sects wanted to kill them and send them to their deaths? Now that he let them off, he didn't believe that they wouldn't leave in this desperate situation. Luo Qingtong, this bitch, without these people to rely on, he wanted to see what she could do. This time, he must kill her here. He would never allow this person who spied on their sect's secrets to live. What did Beast Tamer King Gu Guju say? He's going to let us go? The crowd was in an uproar. Beast Tamer King Gu Guju's words were too attractive to them. Even if they knew that even if they left, the other party might not let them go after they left the land of the deceased immortals. But that was a matter for the future, wasn't it? What's more, when they left the land of the deceased immortals, they could completely unite and form an alliance. No matter which first-class sect they joined in the future, they could negotiate with Beast Tamer King Valley and survive. It was better than dying here now. Everyone's hearts were shaken as they thought this. They looked at Luo Qingtong in the middle of them. At this moment, Yunshi grabbed Luo Qingtong's sleeve and stood up, saying, "You can't be so ungrateful. If it wasn't for Qingtong, you would have all died under the conspiracy of Beast Tamer King Valley and Celestial Palace. Have you forgotten who saved you just now? What's the difference between abandoning her and going back on your word?" The Beast Tamer King Valley and the others were in front of the cave. Qingtong was the cave. As long as these people were willing to protect Luo Qingtong and rush into the cave, they could also threaten the Beast Taming King's Valley to let them leave. Thinking of this, Yunshi was very anxious. She desperately tried to persuade the people of the various forces. But the latter and the others had been bewitched by Beast Tamer King Gu Guju's promise. In the case of hope, who cared whether Luo Qingtong was dead or alive? They had made a deal with Luo Qingtong just because they wanted to leave this place. Now that Beast Tamer King Gu Guju had promised to let them go, why should they continue to fight to the death with the other party? Chapter 2073. The crowd snorted coldly at Yunshi. "Humph, what do you mean by ungrateful? It's just a deal between us and Luo Qingtong. We keep her safe, and she keeps us safe. Isn't that right? We've already fulfilled our promise. Don't make it sound like we owe her." However, everyone knew in their hearts that they really owed Luo Qingtong. With the ability that the girl had shown, if she hadn't wanted to get something in the depths of the Broken Star Valley, she wouldn't have exposed her identity at all. It would have been easy for her to leave. But they relied on Luo Qingtong to survive among these blood-colored figures. If it hadn't been for Luo Qingtong, they would have been killed by those bloody figures under the coercion of the beast-taming King's Valley and the Celestial Palace. But even so, they wouldn't admit it. Otherwise, wouldn't they really be ungrateful people? Yunxi looked at their shameless faces, and she was so angry that she trembled all over. These people were simply too shameless. If it hadn't been for Luo Qingtong, they would all be dead. Now they were saying that they didn't owe Luo Qingtong anything. How could they say that they didn't owe her a life? Yunxi was so angry that she wanted to continue arguing with them. At this moment, Luo Qingtong had also retracted her gaze from the entrance of the cave. Then she looked at the group of people with an indifferent expression and said, "Okay. If you want to leave, you can leave now." Qingtong. Yunxi was anxious. Although she and Luo Qingtong didn't know each other very well, seriously speaking, Luo Qingtong had helped her several times. Whether it was indirectly or directly. And this time, if it hadn't been for Luo Qingtong, she wouldn't have been able to survive until now. Looking at how the Yun family's people had all disappeared, it was obvious. At this moment, the people guarding Luo Qingtong were all experts from various sections. She was the only one whose strength was extremely low, yet she was completely unharmed. Yunxi knew what it meant to be grateful. But now, the group in front of her relied on Luo Qingtong to survive. They relied on Luo Qingtong to break free from the oppression of beast-taming King Valley and Celestial Palace. And now, because of the beast-tamer King Gu Guju's words, he abandoned Luo Qingtong. How hateful. Why did Luo Qingtong agree to let them go? If she let them go, how was she going to deal with the beast-tamer Valley Master and the others? There's no need to say any more. Upon seeing Yunxi's gaze, Luo Qingtong knew what she was thinking. Her expression was indifferent. These people, even if you don't let them go, they won't stay. Why force it? If you want to leave, all of you can leave. As she spoke, she looked at beast-tamer King Gu Guju and the others who had broken through the obstruction of those blood-colored figures and entered the range of the cave. Now that the latter and the others were no longer obstructed by those blood-colored figures, they rushed toward them with a ferocious expression. Their speed was as fast as lightning. Seeing this scene, the people of those forces didn't dare to stay any longer. They said hypocritically, "Miss Tong is still the most righteous one. Miss Tong, since you've said so, we won't meet again. Goodbye." As the group spoke, they bypassed beast-tamer King Gu Guju and the others and rushed toward the outside. In their hearts, they were confident that they could rush out the way they had just rushed in. At most, without Luo Qingtong, some people who weren't strong enough might be unlucky, but most people should be fine. Chapter 2074. They were full of confidence, but they didn't realize that when they left, Luo Qingtong's eyes were cold. She looked in the direction they left, and the corners of her lips curled up. Naturally, we'll never meet again. The smile on her lips was charming, but as cold as a knife. How could it be so easy to take advantage of her? These people were really thinking too much. If they had really accompanied her to the end, then no matter whether they succeeded or not, she would have brought all the survivors away safely. But since they had chosen to abandon her, then they couldn't blame her for taking back everything she had promised before. Want to leave this place alive? Sure. Maybe it would be faster in the dream. Luo Qingtong's sleeves fluttered slightly. Bang, bang, bang. A series of slight explosions sounded. All the auras that she had attached to those blood-colored figures were triggered and exploded by her. Those people thought that Luo Qingtong could see those blood-colored figures and mark them. It was because Luo Qingtong had that treasure map. Therefore, they thought that Luo Qingtong had already used the method taught in that treasure map to make those blood-colored figures appear. In this way, even if Luo Qingtong was gone, they could still leave this place using the method they had used to rush in. At most, they would have to pay a price. But they didn't know that it was Luo Qingtong's eye technique that had seen through those blood-colored figures. And it was Luo Qingtong's aura that had marked those blood-colored figures. As long as she was willing, these marks could all be destroyed. Bang, bang, bang. Those auras all exploded in an instant. And a group of people rushed into those blood-colored figures with great momentum, anxious to leave. After rushing halfway, they suddenly felt that something was wrong. Why did the auras of those blood-colored figures disappear all of a sudden? There were no more traces of those blood-colored figures in front of them at this moment. However, the miserable cries around him continued to ring out one after another. Ah! A saint emperor was controlled by those blood-colored figures in front of everyone, and his intestines were pierced through, and he died. Finally, he dragged his horribly broken body and joined the corpses controlled by those blood-colored figures, and rushed towards the crowd. The crowd screamed shrilly, desperately trying to retreat. But after losing the auras of those blood-colored figures, they had no way to effectively avoid the other party's attacks, and there was no way to leave their range. They could only be surrounded by them and constantly attacked to death. Only now did they realize how stupid their decision to give up on Luo Qingtong was. If they had known that they couldn't escape death in the end, they would have followed behind Luo Qingtong to fight against the people of the Beast King Valley, and find a chance to live. It was much better than dying at the hands of these blood-red figures. However, there was no medicine for regret in this world. They could only be killed by those blood-red figures in their endless regret. And Luo Qingtong of the Saint Emperor SSST of Est, bitch, prepared to die. Seeing that there was no one else beside Luo Qingtong except for Yun Shi and the corpse puppet of the great Yong Saint, Gu Guzhu, and the others sneered. The other party must die. Chapter 2075. Seeing them rushing over, Yun Shi, who was beside Luo Qingtong, turned pale. The corners of her lips twitched. She wanted to tell Luo Qingtong to run. But at this time, where could Luo Qingtong run? The beast tamer King Gu Guzhu and the others didn't come alone, nor were they ordinary powerhouses. With so many of them coming, even if Luo Qingtong had that group of people by her side, she might not be able to escape from their pursuit. Not to mention that Luo Qingtong didn't have many people by her side. Apart from herself, there was only one other person by Luo Qingtong's side. Under such circumstances, unless that person was a powerhouse above the venerable realm. Otherwise, it would be impossible to save Luo Qingtong from the lineup of the beast tamer King Gu Guzhu and the others. Yun Shi's heart was filled with despair, but she didn't have the thought of leaving Luo Qingtong behind. Just as she thought before, if it weren't for Luo Qingtong taking care of her, she wouldn't have survived until now. She would have been killed by those blood-red figures long ago. Since that was the case, this could be considered as repaying Luo Qingtong's life. Thinking of this, she didn't say anything. She just pursed her lips tightly and closed her eyes. She knew that with her little strength, even if she rushed up to Luo Qingtong and risked her life, she wouldn't be able to stop the beast tamer King Gu Guzhu and the others for even half a breath. It wouldn't be a waste of effort. It would also save her from being a burden to Luo Qingtong. When she closed her eyes, Luo Qingtong looked at the beast tamer King Gu Guzhu and the others rushing toward her. She narrowed her eyes slightly, then tilted her head and said to Yun Shi, "Follow me closely. Look after her." The latter words were naturally said to Little Pig, who was hiding on the corpse puppet of the great Yong Saint. Since Yun Shi had chosen to stay with her, Luo Qingtong would try her best to save her life. Of course, if they really couldn't keep it, there was nothing they could do. After all, Yun Shi's cultivation level was relatively weak. Luo Qingtong didn't dare to make a complete guarantee. It all depended on her luck. Shwa! The moment Luo Qingtong's voice rang out, the energy in her hand shot towards the entrance of the cave. Luo Qingtong and the others were still halfway to the entrance of the cave. If beast tamer King Gu Guzhu and the others didn't rush over, this distance was naturally nothing for Luo Qingtong. However, the people from Beast Taming King's Valley were already 100 meters away from the cave. They would reach Luo Qingtong in the blink of an eye. If Luo Qingtong were to run towards the cave, she would be exposing her rear to beast-taming King Guguju's group. She wasn't afraid of beast-tamer King Guguju's attack by relying on her eye technique. However, he was accompanied by a group of high-level experts from beast-tamer King's Valley and Celestial Palace. Luo Qingtong would be crazy to expose her back to the enemy. Therefore, she wouldn't run. She would only let the people from beast-tamer King's Valley run. Bang! Luo Qingtong's attack directly hit the entrance of the cave. With a buzzing sound, transparent ripples suddenly spread out from the entrance of the cave. It turned out that the entrance of the cave seemed to be sealed by an invisible door. When Luo Qingtong's attack was launched, the invisible door instantly rippled open. Chapter 2076. Translations. The ripples of laws on it vibrated violently, and the invisible door suddenly exploded. At this moment, a boundless blood-red color gushed out. Boom, boom, boom. Roar. The violent explosion mixed with a sharp and resounding roar resounded in the depths of Shattered Star Valley. In Luo Qingtong's bloody eyes, a huge blood-colored shadow suddenly rushed out of the broken transparent door. It turned out that the transparent door was a seal. Sealed inside was a huge blood-colored immortal jade bone. At this moment, it suddenly screamed and rushed out from inside. This blood-colored shadow was huge, almost 10 times bigger than the other blood-colored figures outside. The blood-colored aura surrounding it was also very dense. Not only that, its voice was loud and deafening. Even beast-tamer King Guguju and the others, who couldn't hear its sound waves, felt a stabbing pain in their heads. After all, these blood-colored figures all relied on spiritual energy to attack. And this blood-colored figure's strength was even above the other blood-colored figures by many times. Roar! It screamed sharply and rushed towards Luo Qingtong and the others. Because the girl was the closest to it. And when it attacked, Luo Qingtong's body had already turned. Then, her body flashed, and she took a mysterious step, following the path calculated by her bloody eyes. With a swoosh, she rushed towards beast-tamer King Guguju and the others. The latter and the others hated Luo Qingtong to the bone, so they were prepared to rush in front of her and ruthlessly end her. But who would have thought that Luo Qingtong would make such an unexpected move in such a situation? Before they could react, they saw Luo Qingtong attack the cave and then rush towards them. Quick, attack and kill her! When beast-tamer King Guguju and the others reacted, Luo Qingtong had already rushed in front of them. An extremely bad premonition flashed in his heart. Beast-tamer King Guguju was flustered and exasperated, and ordered his people to attack. At the same time, he also prepared to attack Luo Qingtong. But it was too late. At such a close distance, they had no time to attack. And because they had to surround Luo Qingtong and not let her escape, their formation was concave in a semicircle. And Luo Qingtong was in the middle of their concave formation. If they attacked, they could easily injure others. Therefore, when they heard beast-tamer King Guguju's words, the higher-ups of beast-tamer King's Valley and Celestial Palace hesitated subconsciously. In just a moment, Luo Qingtong's figure appeared behind them. And behind her, Yun Shi and the Great Yong Saint's corpse puppet followed closely. Yun Shi was stunned when Luo Qingtong opened her mouth. Before she could open her eyes, Little Pig controlled the Great Yong Saint's corpse puppet to grab her and chase after Luo Qingtong. Almost at the same time that Luo Qingtong appeared behind beast-tamer King Guguju and the others, the two figures also appeared behind beast-tamer King Guguju and the others. You! Beast-tamer King Guguju's voice was filled with shock and anger. Before they could turn around, Chapter 2077. Then, there was a Pucci. One of the higher-ups of the Celestial Palace at the edge of the group let out a shrill scream. In an instant, he was torn in half by an invisible giant hand. Blood splattered out. Blood splattered all over the faces of the beast-taming King's Valley and Celestial Palace's upper echelons. Soon after, another beast taming King Valley's upper echelon let out a miserable shriek as he followed in the footsteps of the Celestial Palace's upper echelon. Puff puff puff. These executives of Beast Tamer Valley and Celestial Palace were all above the Saint Emperor realm, but they couldn't resist at all in front of that invisible figure. That huge blood-colored figure's mental attack first invaded their brains and controlled their movements, then suddenly raised its hand and tore them apart. In the blink of an eye, the two higher-ups were completely dead. As for the huge blood-red shadow, it only looked at them indifferently and had no intention of possessing them. Instead, it continued to scream and rushed toward Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others. Bang bang. In the blink of an eye, two higher-ups from the Beast Taming King's Valley and Extreme Celestial Palace died. And Guguju and the others didn't even see the face of the enemy. It's that damn thing, the Blood Immortal Jade Bones transformation. Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others already knew from Luo Qingtong's words that it was the Blood Immortal Jade Bones transformation that controlled the bloody corpse. Now, seeing how the blood-colored figure tore apart the two executives of Beast Tamer Valley and Celestial Palace, it was very clear that this blood-colored figure's strength was above the Saint Emperor realm. Damn it, Luo Qingtong just attacked the cave to release this damn thing? How did she know that there was this damn thing behind the cave, and that there was a seal at the entrance? No wonder that bitch didn't run in the direction of the cave when they rushed over. Logically speaking, regardless of whether it was useful or not, the other party should have given it a try. In the end, Luo Qingtong just stood there and didn't move. Beast Tamer King Guguju thought that she knew that she couldn't escape, so she just stood there and waited for death. However, she didn't expect that she had seen through the mystery of the cave entrance, so she deliberately didn't run over. Otherwise, the one who would face the blood-red phantom and be torn to shreds would definitely be that B*TCH. Thinking of this, the Beast Tamer King Guguju gritted his teeth in anger. As for Luo Qingtong, she didn't stop after passing by the higher-ups of Beast Taming King's Valley and Celestial Palace. Her figure flashed as she stomped her foot in the air, bypassing Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others as she charged toward the cave. Only then did Yunshi return to her senses. She immediately coordinated with the Great Yong Saint Corpse puppet beside her and followed Luo Qingtong's figure as they rushed towards the cave. Her heart was filled with indescribable surprise and shock. She didn't expect that Luo Qingtong had such a backup plan. It turned out that there were blood-red phantoms near the cave, but they were sealed in the cave. No wonder those blood-red phantoms stopped 100 meters away and didn't dare to approach here. It turned out that there were even more ferocious and terrifying blood-red phantoms. If those people knew that Luo Qingtong had such a backup plan, they would definitely regret leaving, right? After all, even if they could break out of the encirclement of those blood-red phantoms and leave Broken Stars Valley, they would have to pay a price. It was far more advantageous to follow Luo Qingtong. Chapter 2078. However, Yunshi didn't know that those people didn't just choose the wrong path. There was no turning back. Surrounded and attacked by those blood-colored figures, they were all dead. When Luo Qingtong and the others rushed into the cave, the Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others were furious and wanted to chase after them. However, the huge blood-colored figure was entangling them so tightly that they couldn't get away. This blood-colored figure was able to exert the power of the Holy Spirit realm. However, because of its huge size and the fact that it used spiritual attacks, the Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others couldn't do anything to it. Because they couldn't see its figure, they couldn't go around it and split up to chase after Luo Qingtong. Suddenly, he was blocked outside the cave. He was so angry that he was stamping with rage. This time, the Beast Tamer King Guguju couldn't abandon the higher-ups of the Beast Tamer King Valley and Celestial Palace like he did with the disciples of the Beast Tamer King Valley and Celestial Palace. If he did that, he would be the only one at a disadvantage. What's more, those disciples who were abandoned could be trained again. However, once the higher-ups of the Beast Tamer King Valley were lost, the Beast Tamer King Valley would become an empty shell. At that time, any mid-level sect could destroy the Beast Tamer King Valley. What was the use of having a complete Beast Tamer technique? Therefore, the beast tamer King Guguju, the Dark Elder, and the other holy venerables were forced to stay where they were and didn't dare to chase after Luo Qingtong. Their faces were twisted with rage, like that of a ghost. Luo Qingtong glanced at them indifferently and rushed into the cave. These people from the Beast Tamer King Valley and Celestial Palace used others as bait and shields before. They probably didn't expect to become her bait and shield, right? She really had to thank them for luring that huge blood-colored figure away for her. Luo Qingtong, Yun Shi, and the Sure puppet rushed into the cave. This place was extremely deep and spacious. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes. Her gaze swept over the path that led straight into the depths of the forest, and she led Yun Shi and Sure Shao into the depths of the forest. While Luo Qingtong, Yun Shi, Sure Shao, and the others were heading into the depths of the cave. As the beast tamer King Guguju, the Celestial Palace Master, and the others fought against the Blood Immortal Jade Bone's transformation, they discovered that as the Blood Immortal Jade Bone absorbed more and more blood essence, its formless silhouette was slowly showing some shape. This was something they hadn't noticed before. Perhaps it was because there were too many crimson figures before, and the amount of blood essence and life force allocated to each figure was too little. That was why such an effect was not present. However, there was only one blood-red figure here, and they were all strong enough, so the situation slowly became apparent. After realizing this, the beast tamer King Guguju and the others were overjoyed. The beast tamer King Guguju sternly shouted, "Quick, let us bleed and let it suck. Drink to your heart's content." As long as the Blood Immortal Jade Bone's figure was exposed, they wouldn't be afraid that they couldn't deal with it. "Luo Qingtong, you bitch. Just you wait. Even if you entered the cave first and obtained something, I will make you spit it all out." The beast tamer King Guguju's expression was sinister, and he ordered everyone to bleed immediately. The others also noticed the change in the Blood Immortal Jade Bone, and didn't dare to hesitate. Chapter 2079. It was better than them losing their lives. One had to know that other than the beast-taming King Valley Master and a few others, the rest of them weren't a match for the blood-colored shadow. If they didn't hurry to feed this bloody shadow, would they wait for it to kill them and use their lives to fill its body? The crowd scrambled to feed the crimson figure with their blood. Luo Qingtong and Yun Shi had already reached the depths of the cave. This place seemed to have been built into a stone room. The inside was brightly lit, and there were huge luminous pearls embedded in the walls. The bright lights of the pearls converged together like a ray of light, illuminating the depths of the cave. In the depths of the cave, a corpse sat on a futon. In front of the corpse, on the wall at the end of the cave, there were words engraved. Luo Qingtong's eyes narrowed slightly. The Fifth Beast Tamer Law Formula. She looked at the words engraved on the wall and clearly recognized that it was the content of the Fifth Beast Tamer Law Formula. Because the contents of the first four were related to each other. The Fifth Beast Tamer Law Formula should be no exception. Luo Qingtong compared the contents of the first four Beast Tamer Law Formulas that she had memorized before, and soon determined that what was engraved on the wall was the content of the Fifth Beast Tamer Law Formula. However, next to the content of the Beast Tamer Law Formula, there were murals. These murals seemed to have been carved by someone in a hurry. They were very messy, and the lines were very simple. Because of the erosion of countless years, many of the images had been broken, and there were no traces of them. The whole murals were very messy and mottled. Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed, and she carefully identified the murals. She found that what was engraved on them seemed to be related to the land of the fallen immortals. The bloody light in her eyes suddenly skyrocketed. The real reason for the formation of the land of the fallen immortals was very mysterious. For a long time, the people of the hidden world only knew that the land of the fallen immortals was formed because the powerhouses of the outer realms were fighting over some treasure. The result was that all of them perished together in the true Spill Continent's hidden world. For some unknown reason, no one had passed down any information about the treasure. Hence, for so many years, everyone in the hidden world only knew that there was a treasure in the immortal graveyard. However, they did not know what the treasure that caused so many foreign experts to fight over it was. At this moment, Luo Qingtong might be able to find out the reason behind the murals. Thinking of this, Luo Qingtong immediately used her dojutsu to restore the content of the missing images. The contents of the murals were imprinted in her pupils. Countless lines of light flashed, following the traces that might exist, constantly drawing and filling up the missing murals in her pupils. Soon, the image that was most likely the closest to the original image was restored by her. The bloody light in Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed, and she looked at these images one by one. The first image said that the powerhouses of the outer realms received the news and came to the hidden world. Then the second image said that they went to a place together. The third image said that they began to fight. Chapter 2080. Her gaze suddenly froze. She saw on one of the pictures. Those people all fell to the ground. In the middle of their bodies, there was a huge ball of light that looked like a living thing. Within it, there was a thump, 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 thump. What was this? Was this the treasure that those people were fighting for? Luo Qingtong's eyes focused on the picture, and then she continued to look. He saw a person dragging his broken body out of the cave, and finally collapsed in a cave. The paintings that followed were meant to explain how the person had managed to carve these scenes onto the wall at the end of his life. Clearly, the person on the mural was the corpse in the cave. She didn't know how he managed to survive this disaster and draw these pictures. However, it was clear that his strength was much stronger than those who had died near the ball of light. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to drag his last breath to appear here and draw these pictures. As Luo Qingtong thought about it, she continued to read. By the time she saw the last image, there was a clear difference in the image. What was drawn on it was the scene of the corpse in the cave passing away in a sitting posture. The lines on the picture were smooth and smooth. The picture that was revealed was composed of small words. It turned out that the whole picture was actually a letter. Luo Qingtong looked at the content of the picture carefully. My name is Zhuge 13. If there is a fated person who comes to this cave, please bring my relics back to my family, the Zhuge family. The Zhuge family is the #1 beast tamer family in the extraterritorial domain. We created a unique beast taming method that allows people who don't have beast taming soul seals to contract and tame demonic beasts. From then on, their combat power will increase, and their strength won't lose to those who have soul seals. Today, I am the 94th generation great-grandson of the Zhuge family. Because I heard about the sector beast, I came to this remote waste domain, a low-level continent. In the end, I died here. This is my fate. However, I've just finished improving the clan's cultivation method, so that the demon beasts contracted by the clan's cultivation method can increase their strength together with the contractor, complementing each other. Although I can't solve the problem of the beast taming technique only being able to contract demonic beasts that are weaker than me, I've already formed the embryonic form of a heaven and earth contract. Now that I've died here, I hope that the fated person will be able to return my cultivation methods and personal belongings to the Zhuge family. For this, I am willing to repay you with my inheritance. I will use my own beast mark to bestow upon the fated one. A beast mark was a mark condensed by a beast tamer's beast taming technique. Through the use of the seal, one could contract a demonic beast. The stronger a beast tamer was, the more powerful the beast tamer's imprint would be. Generally speaking, the beast mark cultivated by a beast tamer was related to their strength. No matter how strong he was, his beast mark would be the same. However, there were exceptions, and that was the gift of beast marks. Even if the person who received the beast mark was not strong enough, they would still be able to form a contract with a stronger demonic beast. As long as the demonic beast's strength was below the level of the beast mark, it would suffice. Now, this man named Zhuge 13 was going to give away the beast mark that he had cultivated. You're tuning in to the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.